Thomas Loxham, Shane Toll, the wingers Declan Hume and Dean Ormsby. A bit of a coup for Barrow, signing Ormsby from Warrington mid-season. Ryan Fieldhouse, former Halifax player, is on the team sheet as standoff, with Brad Marwood as the standoff. Wayne Riley and Alex Cicino the props. Dean Parata is the hooker. Daniel Morrow, Matthew Holmes the second row. Matthew Weil is the loose forward. Nathan Mossop, Brad Crellin, Ryan Duffy and Thomas Walker, the replacements for Paul Crary, as Carter gets the match underway. And that ball lost backwards, and the referee calling on the knock-on straight away, but Salton Stall holds his hand up in apology. So the ball looked to go through his legs, and Halifax will be defending on their own line from that mistake by Salton Stall. And the first opportunity for the Raiders. Going forward, close to the line, the post, saving Halifax a little bit there, becoming the 14th man in defence with Will Sharp. Now they'll try and move it out wide, and looking to skid over the line is Alex Cicino. Well, Thomas Walker was down on the replacements bench, but the number 10, if that is Thomas Walker, is actually on from the start, and Salton Stall will run the ball back after a Raiders error on the Halifax 10, and it's very close there to the Raiders to being offside as Grady tries to get up and play the ball. Daniel Morrow all over him. Tyra takes it up to the 30. Well, conditions will be difficult after a heavy downpour about an hour prior to this game, when the heavens open and it's left the surface greasy, slippery and wet. The groundsmen were out trying to cure the wet spots before this kick-off, and Morrell with a 40-20, and that one just failing to reach the whitewash in the Barrow 20, but the chase is good from Halifax. The news of another injury. Adam Tangata had the pins removed from his leg this week and should be back in action. He's back in training a bit, but Halifax certainly missed the power of the Cook Island International. Well, he's been on the sidelines for the end of last season and all of the start of this season. Halifax will be looking to welcome him back when he's ready to go. Another error. It's probably going to be a knock-on-a-thon tonight under these conditions. 3 or 4 already in the opening 3 minutes. Quite a full turn up from Barrow, seeing 2 coaches outside the ground. So turning out to support their ever-improving team. Almost a mistake from Kay off the back of the scrum. Tyra takes it into the tackle. Halifax with the ball in the Raiders half of the field for the first time on the 40-metre line. And another mistake, this time from Elliot Morris. And Barrow will get possession back. We're all speaking to the referee with some concern, but the referee waving him away. Play continuing with a scrum on the 40. Halifax looking to keep the Raiders in their own half as they pour forward in the change strip of black and grey. They've been out of the championship for 2 or 3 years of Barrow. The most noticeable of matches between these two sides, the 2009 playoff final at Warrington, where Barrow came out 26-18 winners. Much change sides for both clubs as the ball comes back off a Halifax body, and another knock on is committed. Like Loxham trying to pick the ball up. Going to be Parata, but whoever it was has knocked the ball forward, and the errors continue to mount for both teams. Shane Grady takes it over the 20, tries to get up and play it quickly. Marwood interfering a little bit there. Tyra gets the ball away to Sharp, and Sharp takes it over the 40. Halifax still in their own half. Johnson gets it to Elliot Morris. And Morris caught by 3 Barrow defenders 3 metres from halfway. Will Mayer will take it up. There's 3 defenders there again for Barrow. Last tackle just inside the Raiders half, and it'll go back to Morrell, who has immediate pressure put on him. And Alex Asino it was, who went for Morrell and came off second best and was slow to his feet and needs attention back in the Raiders line. That will help the men from Cumbria. Halifax offside, not standing square at the play of the ball. Halifax only have Conor McGrath stood on this touch line, but it's not going to get that far. It's only gone about 10 metres. It's reached touch inches inside the Raiders half, and Ryan Fieldhouse taps it, throws it inside, and Halifax are there waiting in numbers to stop Cecino, still limping. And they also have a man without a number on, which not going to help matters. Marwood gets the drop-off ball to Declan Hume. Cecino carries the ball up again. And we have another man without a number who's looking at the shaken, who makes his way back to the defensive line. Short ball. And Barrow 15 metres away from the Halifax line. And Fieldhouse kicks off the outside of his foot. And Jacob Fairbank, who's managed to, or Ben Cates, has managed to trap the ball with his foot and stop it. Quick play from Morrell out to Saltonstall. And take the ball into a 3-man tackle 2 metres from the Halifax 20. And Conor McGrath has gone a long way from the other side, this side of the field, all the way over. And again, there's a Barrow defender getting up gingerly from the tackle. And that's Shane Toll. Loxham on the other side. Loxham's on this side. And the Barrow medics certainly earned their money this evening. Halifax has the first penalty and their 30. And Morrell kicks into the Raiders half of the field. Steve Tyra gives it to Grady, back to Tyra. Tyra with a big handoff and making metres. Doing well there, Steve Tyra. More metres than he probably should have been allowed to, as Grady shows the ball and is almost turned upside down there by the Barrow defence. Ben Kate to Morrell, Morrell out to Sharp, and Sharp short pass to Ed Barber. Halifax defying the slippery conditions and stringing a few passes together in a sweeping attacking move. Will Mayer gets dumped to the ground. That's good defence. Fieldhouse and Ormsby the tacklers. Ryan Fieldhouse Johnson taking up more of a centre role, allowing Carter to play full back. Murrell kicks into the corner. It's a tester for the defence, and Halifax, Conor McGrath doing a great job getting there first. Had some help from Ed Barber. Conor McGrath on the right wing, ran the ball up on the left wing in that previous set of 6, and was able to get across the field, put the pressure on Loxham, and force him to carry the ball out. Drop out under the post by Carter, travelling 45 metres where Murrell gives it to Will Mayer. 3 men wait for Mayer as he charges the ball back up towards the Raiders 30-metre line. Ben Kay looked to fumble again, then Johnson gets a short ball to Grady. Shane Grady falls, gets back up, but has to play the ball. Johnson gets it to Tyra, and Tyra turns round, but there's too many bodies around Steve Tyra for him to get the pass away. Grady inside, Johnson. Halifax looking for a way through this Raiders defence. Struggling to find a gap at the moment. Little chip through by Johnson, looking to force another drop out, and Halifax are successful in taking Barrow to ground behind the try line again in the in-goal area, which means they will be forced to drop out again. Well, they may not have scored yet, but Halifax are building some pressure and then forcing the drop out under the post, so they at least they get a bit of possession. So with which to attack that Raiders line again. Stoppage, and once again the medics come on to tend to the walking wounded of the Barrow Raiders. Halifax causing physical damage in their approach to the game with their defensive effort. Will get Murrell on the 45-metre line again, and Will Mayer will run it back, take it back to the 30-metre line. Good kick return from Halifax, who'll go to the left-hand side. Johnson has to use his feet to stop it, and then trying to find a way on his own through that Barrow defence unsuccessfully. Fairbank takes it to the line, goes behind Murrell, and Murrell has got it back somehow, and Halifax have got 6 more tackles. Gene Ormsby unable to pick the ball up cleanly. Ben Kay looking for runners, and then goes on his own, almost pushes away the Barrow defender with a big handoff, but just falling to the tackle. Johnson ducks under 2, gets the pass away, gets the return, and then goes again, but just had the step to get through past the defence. Will Mayer to Murrell, out to Ed Barber. Barber towards the corner, running out of space, goes to ground 5 metres out with Will Sharp in at acting half. Long pass inside to Murrell, who shows the ball and goes on his own. Bounces off the first defender into the arms of a second. Last tackle for Halifax, and Ben Kay puts the ball on the ground, and Halifax have got a try, and it looks like Elliot Morris, who was the first to the ground. Deep for after the hooker, who was unable to deal with the kick along the floor.
Sponsored by Paul and Sharon Oglesby. Number 8,
Elliot Morris scores the first try for Halifax, and let's hope that history doesn't repeat itself, and that's the one and only try. They've been building the pressure of Halifax. They've had the possession to do so with two good sets which have ended with Barrow being forced to drop out. This time they come up with the rewards off the last tackle, the kick through. It was by Johnson, causing havoc for Dean Parata, trying to pick the ball up rather than make it dead, and Morris pouncing to make it 4-0. Tyra converted to make it 6-0 to Halifax. 14 minutes.
Vision Express from number 3, Steve Tyra. Brad Krellin has come on for Barrow. Early exchange, and Saltonstall safe under it this time. The ball inside. Substitution of Barrow, leaving the field, number 20, Matthew Wild, to be replaced by number 19, Brad Krellin.
Saltonstall again trying to help out the forwards. Matthew Wild is down as number 20 that's left the field. I wonder if it's Matthew Wild who was the one that didn't have the number on. Halifax pouring forward again, and Morrell looking for a 40-20. I don't think that'll go near the touchline, but it's forced Loxon back to pick the ball up the chase there for Halifax, and made on the Raiders 20-metre line with Ed Barber and Chester Butler. Strong run but strong defence again. Chester Butler and Ed Barber the tacklers again after the initial contact with Morrell, and Ben Kay shot out of the line, then slowed down the ball carrier and helped to finish him off. Chester Butler again and Elliot Morris. And that is an absolute clattering tackle, is that. Huge tackle from Jacob Fairbanks, dislodging the ball and leaving another Barrow Raider on the floor. Well, I thought he needed attention. The medics and water carriers on for Brad Krellin. A real big hit from Fairbank. To be fair, Chester Butler had been involved in 3 earlier tackles with Ed Barber, Scott Morrell, which had restricted Barrow going forward. Halifax will turn it to their advantage by forcing the error in the Raiders half. Shane Grady trying to get up and play the ball quickly. Elliot Morris, Halifax's try scorer, taking the ball to the Raiders line. Halifax getting over the advantage line with every play. Will Meyer does the same as he takes it over the 20-metre line. Ben Kay looking left and then going right. Morrell gets it to Will Sharp, and Will Sharp well marked by Ormsby coming out of the line very quickly. Morrell and Meyer again driving the ball up. Last tackle. Referee with a hand in the air under the post on the try line, and Morrell kicks it across for Tyra, and Tyra looks round for the support and didn't need it because the Barrow defence held off. Saw what Tyra was doing. Tyra took it on his own to turn round, head towards the line, and Halifax have 2 tries in as many minutes. Halifax into double figures, and a second try in 2 minutes. And like buses, wait for ages and then 2 come at once. Well, that's the case of the tries. This time Steve Tyra, and there's a better than average chance that Tyra is going to take Morrell's kick out of the air because he's done it so often last season. Morrell pinpoints the centre, and he always seems to get above the defence. He's benefited from that play on many occasions last season. And once again, Morell's kick found Tyra and turned round after looking for support, saw how close he was to the line, and took it upon himself to extend Halifax's lead to 10-0. Only his third try of the season. Converts his 17th goal in the season, his second of the night, and Halifax score doubles. 12 Halifax, Barrow Raiders 0.
Conversion sponsored by Vision Express. Number 3, Steve Tyra. Winning the score, Halifax 0, Barrow Raiders 0.
No time for taking your foot off the pedal. Sheffield found that out to their cost at Barrow last week when they were leading 18 points to 0. Finished up, I think, 32-26. They beat them in the Challenge Cup the week before. Halifax desperate to make sure that that 5-point gap that lies between them and fourth place is not extended any further than that. Well, that's got to be a penalty. Will Meyer is an awkward runner, and it was a very awkward tackle which resulted in him being picked up and dumped down illegally with the legs going above the horizontal position. Halifax opts to run it out of their own 20, and Elliot Morris does just that by a metre, gets some plays it quickly. Shane Grady charges on, takes it up to the 30-metre line. And Barrow creeping up a little bit offside as Halifax get to their own 40-metre line. Marshall warming plus 3 of his 4 subs up and down the touchline, and Tyra looking for a way through there, but his path blocked on halfway. Back to Johnson for the kick down the touchline. Carter, if he knew too much about how he stopped that, it ricocheted off his legs and stopped, so he was able to turn around and pick it up. Carried the ball back 10 metres, and Halifax putting the pressure on in defence again, just outside the Raiders' red zone. Dean Ormsbeck will look to use all his experience to get through the Halifax defence. Doesn't make too many metres. Halifax watching from acting half there. And Barrow pinching 10 metres on the quick play the ball from Dean Peratta, the Italian international. The last tackle signalled. Barrow at 5 metres inside the Halifax half. Back to Fieldhouse. He'll get the kick away. It won't trouble Halifax defence too much. The pressure was on. And Fieldhouse managing to get a kick away that's made 15 metres and gone into touch. Halifax will get the scrum. Dart from acting half from Peratta gaining 10 metres really troubled Halifax much in defence. They've stood up well so far with everything Barrow have thrown at them. Ben Kay from acting half has lost possession, and now the Raiders might have another chance, and Halifax struggling to bring down the ball carrier. It's like Declan Hume who's taken them to the 20. Barrow have got a sniff of the Halifax whitewash after another mistake. Krellin 3 metres out, 4 metres out from the Halifax line. looking for options. A short ball causing problems for the Halifax defences. It will no, because they've got plenty of numbers around the ball carrier a metre from the line, and there's great pressure but could be caught out. The defence is there again for Halifax, somehow scrambling back. It looked like the opportunity had been made. The Halifax defenders shot out of the line. Halifax holding fast. Can they hold out for one more? Fieldhouse, long pass away, and it's off a Halifax hand. A knock on. We'll give Barrow another 6 tackles to attack the Halifax line. Halifax with work to do in defence again. They did a pretty sterling job there. Ed Barber just unable to intercept as he went on the last tackle, and he pushed the ball forward. It's desperation in a position like that to make sure the ball didn't go outside. Fieldhouse feeds the scrum. Brett Carter comes into the line from full back while the forwards break off the scrum. I'm sure it'll be the forwards who are going through now, with Daniel Morrow 3 metres away from the Halifax line. And slow to get up. Halifax conceded another penalty, the second of the game. Well, Halifax scored on back-to-back pressure. Can Barrow do the same? As Morrow just manages to keep hold of the ball, looked like it was dropping out of his hand then, managed to take it safely. Now Wood gets the ball away, and Glenn Riley, who has some experience in Super League with the London Broncos. Fieldhouse serves the ball on the inside, but Halifax with big shots in defence. There's almost a scrummage on the line there. The Raiders are stopped again close to the line. Fieldhouse trying to find a way through. Well, Fieldhouse has scored a lot of tries on this ground as a Halifax player, and he's just set a one up there as Ryan Fieldhouse, who's playing more in a half-back role this evening, half-back centre role. And Dean Parata, I think it was. Well, Gene Ormsby, Dean Parata. Not so much skill involved in that as Ormsby got the ball and headed downwards towards the line. Halifax were never going to stop him from that distance. And so it's Barrow gave into back-to-back sets. Halifax have done the same at their end of the field. The first real pressure that the Raiders have had. And 3 changes have been made. The entire front row being changed by Richard Marshall, with Ben Kay, Elliot Morris and Will Mayer leaving the field, to be replaced by Sean Jones, Brandon Moore and Dan Fleming. From the field quite wearily, because obviously it's heavy going in this weather. Carter pushes it to the left hand side. Well, Halifax still have an 8-point gap. 14 and a half minutes left of the first half. Halifax 12, Barrow Raiders 4.
Dan Fleming, number 14, Brandon Moore, number 26, Sean Jones, number 9, Ben Kay, number 8, Elliot Morris, and number 17, Will Mayer.
A strong run, but equally strong defence from Halifax. Sean Jones being pulled away by one of his teammates, in danger of hanging on a bit too long there and possibly giving a penalty away. Notice Sean Jones has got the right thigh heavily strapped.
And Barrow starting to make more metres in this set of 6 than they have done in previous ones. Perhaps it was a big attempt by Brandon Moore, got back and added his weight at the second time of asking. And Sean Jones again almost giving the penalty away, but the referee says get up and play the ball, and Barrow are up to the Halifax 40. Fieldhouse. Well, it's got to have come off Morrell, that surely. You can't give Barrow the head and feed. You are. Oh, well, that is ridiculous. The ball was aimed at Morrell, came off his foot, went into touch, and the referee said he made a play for it. Well, that's what the crowd in the East Stand incensed. Well, the ball just came off Morrell and went into touch, but Barrow have even more energy now after receiving the look of the... Well, the referee appears to have changed his mind and indicated to the Halifax side then, but he's having the scrum go again, and Shane Toll, one of the two brothers, this Barrow side, a Scottish international, his older brother Daniel not featuring tonight. Now there's Jamie Dallimore, who's been banned for 4 games. Now there's John O'Smith, who was also a Raiders player, or Ryan Duffy, all plenty of experience and nous with those players, but Barrow looking for a bit more from Riley. 5 metres out. Coming to this side again, Fieldhouse gets the ball out, but Halifax are able to make the defence, but the referee has given another penalty to Barrow. He may possibly go for the 2 points. It's an off the ball incident. Raiders medical staff on again to Ryan Fieldhouse this time. And Thomas Walker is already lined up to take a drive into the Halifax line. And Glenn Riley stood not far behind him. And Fieldhouse receiving attention. While Nathan Mossop, the bandage around the head, looks to play it. The referee making it a stuttering game at the moment. Holmes drives the ball up. Mossop to Fieldhouse. Ball comes loose. Knock on, says the referee. Halifax can feel badly done to that Barrow had got the ball on this side of the field anyway from the deflection off Scott Morrell. They've got the ball back after giving the penalty away, and Steve Tyrer attracts 3 defenders on that far side. It's still trying to stay on his feet is Steve Tyrer, gets a quick play of the ball. Chester Butler, I think it is, that's come up with it, making metres on that far side. Saltonstall drops the shoulder on the Halifax 30 metre lines, put down by 2 defenders. Mossop the last man up. Dan Fleming gets to the 40 where he's tackled by Morrow. Despite the calls for the penalty, the referee has indicated Halifax have knocked on, and Barrow will get possession again on the Halifax 40 metre line. So another error. We'll seem to have gone error free for 10 or 15 minutes, but now
creeping back in. First Barrow in Halifax's red zone, and now Halifax giving Barrow the opportunity again. As they pour forward, Mossop moves into acting half, looking for runners. Moves it to Ormsby on the near side, and Ormsby showing all his strength as he almost went through the Halifax defensive line. Mossop inside, back with the forwards. Walker moving it across the field. The Raiders are losing possession. Sean Jones comes up with it, and Sean Jones brushes away the first attempted tackle and then gets put down 25 metres out from Halifax line. As Saltonstall takes the ball up, and Barrow look like they're all offside. Brandon Moore trying to take advantage of it, and off goes Conor McGrath in a little bit of space, looking round, but the support not there quick enough. Saltonstall, well, he's playing at the man offside, Morrow, who could go for 10 minutes for that for a professional foul. The referee letting it go, just a penalty for holding down. 3 penalties all, and have been given the option to add 2 points to the Halifax total from 20 metres out. They're just about level, or a metre outside the left hand upright. On a night when opportunities for try scoring might be limited by errors, Halifax taking a sensible option, taking the points while they're at the Raiders red zone. Tyra was successful with 2 conversions and adding a try. 8 of Halifax's 12 points so far. It must be 10 of Halifax's 14. Just under 8 minutes to go, and Steve Tyra his third successful 2-pointer. It may not be pretty and it may not be expansive, but Halifax lead 14 points to 4. Sending the lead by 2 points after taking the easy option of the penalty. Dan Fleming takes the ball off Morrell. Tackle 15 metres out from Halifax line. Will Sharp giving it to Sean Jones. Not getting a one-on-one as 3 men moving to tackle him after the last handoff from Jones when he ran the ball away. Chester Butler putting the Raiders defence to work almost up to the 40, and Dan Fleming keen to run again 5 metres from halfway. Brandon Moore looking for the quick play of the ball. Scott Morrell out, and Butler turns up on this near side. Last tackle, and Ed Barber put it down, just rolling enticingly in front of Brett Carter, and that's a terrific defensive effort because Carter has been pushed back by Fairbank, McGrath and Barber. A good intercept for Halifax, finishes in the Raiders red zone. 3rd tackle, and they're still there. Only just. Brady gets him from the tackle, and Morrow comes inside. Looking to be on the field after that cynical tackle. Barrow move it across to Lomax. McGrath not taking the dummy, and that is a great tackle from Conor McGrath. Taking Tom Loxham. Lomax, Loxham into touch, rolling him over, and Loxham tried for all he could to keep his feet in the play, but couldn't get in the ground playing area, but couldn't get the purchase on the ground. And McGrath winning that little battle. Having a bit of a torrid time is Loxham. He was Forcing goal by Conor McGrath earlier in the first half. Brandon Moore to Ben Johnson. Johnson gets it to Will Sharp. Sharp drops his shoulder inside. But the defence sliding across for the Raiders, making the tackle just outside the 40. Tyra to Ben Johnson. Show and go from Johnson, tackled on the 40. Less than 5 minutes to go in the first half. Halifax 14, Barrow Raiders 4. That's a big hit there from a big forward in Ryan Duffy, who's on for the Barrow Raiders. The former Warrington man, and one of a number of North Wales Crusaders ex-players in this side, and Captain Scott Morrell electing that Steve Tyra should again go for goal to try and stretch the lead to 12 points. Of course, the advantage to get success with the penalties is that you get the ball back, so you get to keep the possession. Plenty of time with possession only helps the confidence grow. And so Steve Tyra looking to add another 2 points to his personal tally for the evening. Will be another success. Another penalty. Halifax 16. Barrow Raiders 4. Keeps the scoreboard ticking over in Halifax's favour. And more importantly, keep possession away from the Barrow Raiders a little bit longer. The confidence growing evident in the speed that Halifax are playing the ball, and forcing the Raiders into some errors. Sean Jones charges it forward, tackled by Mossop. Saltonstall looks for a gap and takes it over the 30, and Halifax pressing forward. Brandon Moore takes it up to halfway. 3 tackles. Halifax back to halfway already. Mossop the tackler again. Dan Fleming will carry it into the heavy traffic and still keep going forward and making almost 15 metres. Johnson looking at perhaps a defence that's having to work hard and tired a bit, but can't find a chink to get through. Morrell kicks, puts pressure on Shane Toll on the far side, but Toll up to taking the ball cleanly and trying to run it back. Barrow with hands on the ball for the first time in a while, and looking to play adventurous football. Matthew Holmes is tackled on the 40-metre line. Mossop turns it inside to Krellin, and that's a massive hit from Brandon Moore on Brad Krellin, but then penalty adjudged by the referee. So Jones went in, and I think the referee has adjudged that the ball was ripped out in a 2-man tackle. So 4 penalty for Barrow. 1 minute 6 left on the clock, so if they're going to do something, they're going to have to be quick about it. Parata will put the ball into touch. Italian international, along with Alex Cecino, also a Italian international. So Mark Saltonstall as well, James Saltonstall rather as well. And the collision there leaves another Barrow player on the ground, and that looks a little bit more serious than previous. Well, looks like it could have been a collision of heads there, certainly on the part of the Barrow
player who's down receiving attention. Looks like Brad Krellin. Another breaking play with 39 seconds on the clock. Krellin being led from the field. I don't need too much attention, but he's sagging a bit like a whippy crab as he leaves the field, so that'll be a HIA. For the medical staff. Will finally get to his kick away to the far side. There's only 34 seconds to do anything. Here comes Morrow on the charge. Morrow put down on the Halifax 20-metre line. Well, the wind that's blown across will have helped this ground to dry out a little bit, and there's numbers on this side as Ormsby cuts inside. Error forced, and the error has been classed as a knock-on. Good tackle from Ed Barber on Ormsby. That has been left on the floor, needing attention. Scott Burrell calls his players off the field as one after one of the more successful first half against the Barrow Raiders. Despite that try from Ormsby, Halifax have been fairly dominant in both attack and defence. Tries from Elliot Morris and Steve Tyrer, 2 conversions and 2 penalties for Steve Tyrer. Halifax taking the old-fashioned sensible option of taking the points at that end of the field. And so far, up to now, it's all good for Halifax, who lead at half-time. Halifax 16, Barrow Raiders 4. Things looking good for Halifax after the first half. The 40 minutes of effort. And Ryan Duffy will drive the ball back. With a sizable presence is Duffy. Trying to make that presence felt then, but Halifax were to tackle him. And here Halifax again putting the pressure on, forcing the Barrow carriers back into the red zone. I don't think there'll be too much Richard Marshall could say about the first half, other than a few less errors, but conditions determining the errors as much as the players themselves. Brandon Douglas out for the second half. Mossop gets the pass away, and it's charged down by Shane Grady, and Grady off towards the line, trying to outpace the Raiders' defence. Great charge down by Grady. Put Halifax in a promising position right from the off in his second half, and Brandon Douglas charging towards that line, and the wave rolled over, took him a metre nearer. Brandon Moore losing ground, being forced back, but that might help Halifax and give them a little bit more room attacking. And have numbers on this left hand side, maybe not now, but they're bringing the ball over this way anyway. Tyrer tries to get it out to Saltonstall, well, it's never going to get to him, and Halifax wastes the opportunity. And Tyrer apologising. That would have been a perfect start for Halifax for this second half. On the pass from Tyrer, misdirected. Probably had far too much strength behind it. We're never going to get to Saltonstall's hands even. Halifax will try and put the pressure on again. First tackle made in the red zone by
Barber and Chester Butler, and again Halifax trying to force the carrier back into the red zone, and they do so eventually. And Halifax penalised again by the referee. 5-3 the penalty count. In Barrow's favour. The Halifax supporters saw that the way the referee did. I thought the Halifax man was held down by the Raiders player. Mossop goes to the left hand side. Duffy into Brandon Douglas, who needs a bit of assistance. Brandon Moore's there. Ball goes to ground, and Barrow have 6 more tackles. As Butler makes another telling tackle. Halifax defending back on their own 20-metre line. Martin Wilde carries the ball forward. Mossop gets it to Fieldhouse. Fieldhouse to Parata. Ball out wide. Gets to Declan Hume. But Hume put down 10 metres out. Now Morrow goes towards Halifax line. Still with tackles in the bag. Mossop moves Parata away from acting half. Then gets the pass to him. The kick is off Parata. And the referee has cleared the tackle count again after a touch from Ed Barber. And the Raiders go on the assault on the far side, attacking that right hand Halifax defence, which holds its ground for the moment, with Conor McGrath coming in off the wing. Matthew Wilde close to Halifax line. Mossop gets the ball away, and a big hit by Halifax in defence. Stops another threat from the Raiders number 15 Glenn Riley. Mossop goes on his own. Cheers from the Barrow supporter, the Barrow players, but close but no cigar. Parata gets it away. Fieldhouse will charge the Halifax line. Last tackle. One more tackle for Halifax to keep this Barrow team at bay, but there's a stoppage from the referee. Fieldhouse gets up to play the ball. Mossop gets it back, and that could help Halifax because the ball has gone to ground. Now they move it out wide, and Saltonstall straight in on Declan Hume there, coming in and making the tackle, and Saltonstall's at it again. And Halifax have done a terrific job in forcing the Barrow Raiders back 25 metres with possession there. Fieldhouse played the ball virtually on the Halifax line, and Barrow was so desperate to keep it alive, and Halifax was so desperate to keep the Barrow side at bay, tackling for all they were worth. Brandon Moore gets it to Dan Fleming, but Dan Fleming could go nowhere there. Such was the speed of the advance from the Raiders defence. Sean Jones will drive it up, and that was high from Matty Wilde. So Halifax will get a penalty, courtesy of a reckless tackle. And Scott Morrell. It's 25 metres with a kick, and Halifax want to get it back into play quickly. Saltonstall plays it to himself, gets to the 20-metre line. Tyra moves into acting half. Pass is not the best to Johnson, but he managed to keep all, and then Brandon Douglas looked like he took a high shot. Referee waved it away. Brandon Moore to Scott Morrell. Will Sharp gets rid of the first defender, and Will Sharp still going away from the second. Will Sharp away from the third, and then running into trouble in the forwards 5 metres out from the Raiders line. Giving the Halifax faithful something to cheer about. Will they have something more to cheer about here? Johnson just ankle tap to the ground. Shane Grady into acting half, gives it to Dan Fleming, and Fleming will charge the ball up to the Raiders line, and Dan Fleming almost over for another try under the Halifax post, under the Barrow post rather. Oh, Morell is going to have to play that off his feet, and Halifax have come up there, lucky from a scrappy pass. Morell somehow getting his foot to it, and Tom Loxham caught in goal. Halifax forcing another dropout with Loxham behind the try line. The referee stopped the clock, I think. He's walking over at that far side of the field. He'll stop the clock because there's a Barrow player needing attention. It looks like Matty Weil is going for a little bit of time. The referee coming across. He should be taking him off the field really, rather than holding the game up. The approach of the referee, the medic said, is okay, and so the game will continue, and that could be an awkward bouncing one. Brandon Douglas picks the ball up, goes through the first attempted tackle of Glenn Riley. Sharp and Johnson both went in front of the ball there. We watch for the backspin as Johnson tries the big hand off. Well, he's going to have trouble handing Glenn Riley off, but he's got to the 20-metre line. Dan Fleming to Morell. Morell brings in Sean Jones, and Sean Jones is brought down 18 metres out. Well, this should give Halifax an opportunity to extend the lead by a further 2 points. With a 12-point gap at the moment. No hesitation from Scott Morell to point at the post for Steve Tyrer to try and turn that 12-point lead into 14 and make it a 3-score lead for Halifax. So Halifax almost had an opportunity of 4 from the kick-off, but they'll happily come away with 2 if it means it puts a bit more pressure on that Barrow Raiders side. Tyler's successful. They'll put a 3-score pressure on Paul Carey's men. And Tyler's third penalty makes it Halifax 18, Barrow Raiders 4.
Number 3, Steve
Well, he's contributed 14 of Halifax's points. We'll be hoping to get some more as well, no doubt, before this game is over. 10 minutes into the second half. High lofted kick taken by Morell, given to Sean Jones. Jones put under pressure by the Barrow defence, driven back a little bit. Douglas looking to make meters, falling when he hit the Barrow defence. Dan Fleming taken to ground by 3. Fleming just having a look there as he got up, and Morell will go for the 40-20. Well, it might not be a 40-20, but look at McGrath going down that far side, and the ball's in the in-goal area, and if Conor McGrath could make the tackle in the in-goal, well, it wasn't to be, but he's got up there very, very quickly, and the Raiders find themselves running the ball away from their own try line virtually. And Halifax with some big hits, keeping the Raiders in their own red zone. They've only just got over there now. I think that's a 4th tackle that's gone. Trying to move it across field and look for a space. Matty Weil has taken the ball for the last tackle, and the Raiders are still in the red zone, only 15 metres further out from where they started from. And another rushed kick, Will Sharp underneath it, and an opportunity to run it back, and Sharp any trouble getting into full speed, but a little bit of trouble getting purchased on the ground to get beyond halfway.
Tyra. Tackle to the ground, 8 metres inside the halfway mark. Saltonstall taking it over the 40. And Halifax with an opportunity. Johnson away to Sean Jones. And Jones will go over to surely send Halifax long way towards a win. Well, they've been patient. It's both predictable when the penalties have come. But the patience has now paid off with the clock ticking over. Halifax are sensing the opportunity. Perhaps Barrow becoming a bit frustrated. Halifax taking advantage of that frustration with Sean Jones. Going over for his first senior try for Halifax. Inside that 2-year extension to his contract, and Richard Marshall's obviously seen something in Sean Jones, and Sean Jones is starting to repay that. A try that extends the lead to Halifax 22, Barrow Raiders 4. Tyra, so we'll keep putting over the 2 pointers, and that's another one. 24 Halifax, Barrow Raiders 4.
Conversion, sponsored by Vision Express, of number 3, Steve Tyra.
Halifax taking a real stranglehold on this game now. Minutes gone in the second half. 24 points to 4 the advantage. And Halifax will want to extend that if they can. Brandon Douglas dumped to the ground, turned on his back by the Raiders defence. Brandon Moore gets it to Dan Fleming, and Fleming takes it up to the Halifax 40, and Will Sharp on his shoulder, just couldn't get the ball away. Brandon Moore goes from acting half and pushes the defence back into the Raiders half of the field, tries to get up and continue, but the referee says the tackle was made and you need to come back. Johnson kicks through and Grady kicks forward. There's pressure on for Carter, and Carter's going nowhere, and that's a voluntary tackle from Brett Carter. Well, almost. The tackle by Tyra, and the tackle, to be fair, looked awkward the way Tyra made it, and it looked as though Carter might have gone down face first into the ground, but even if he didn't, he's going to take as much time as he can to give his teammates an opportunity to catch their breath. Back on his feet is Brett Carter, the Raiders fullback. 7 years at Workington, 141 games for Carter, a Scotland international. The referee has decided to have a word with Scott Morrell for something. Putting that on report. Giving Barrow another penalty. I don't think it was anything malicious from Tyra, but
To be fair, Carter probably deserved what he got, because he looked to go into a voluntary tackle initially and surrender himself. But of course he has to get up and play the ball. And the way that Tyler was stood over him, it was always going to be awkward, as Carter went head first anyway. So Mossop gets the ball away to Alex Cecino, the international, played with the Cronulla under-20s in Australia and the Marconi Mustangs. The exotic names in the Australian lower leagues. As the kick is caught by Saltonstall, throws the dummy and then finds the get close by the Raiders defence. Looked initially as though it might have been an opening. Will Sharp has got 3 men round him and still managing to go forward. Shane Grady, who suffered a bit in Toulouse and was a doubt at one point, has come off to the applause of the Halifax crowd. And Brandon Moore stood behind as McGrath plays the ball. Will Mayer taking the ball up over the advantage line again. Brandon Moore holds the ball, gets it out to Chester Butler, and Chester Butler has the strength to hold one off, but not the other two who joined in the tackle. Morel happy, kick the ball into touch. They'll keep the Raiders in their own red zone. Spent a lot of time there. In this second half, really being pushed back by Halifax in defence. Find it difficult to get into the Halifax half of the field with any decent possession, which is the work that's being put in by the Halifax defence. To their credit, have not relented in the 57 minutes of this game so far. Dan Morrow takes the ball. Looked like Mossop might have knocked on a little bit there, as Mossop now playing the penalty. Cecino does well to get over halfway for the Barrow Raiders, brought down by Jones and Mayer. Ryan Duffy gets the ball to Mossop. Mossop juggling, gets the ball away to Glenn Riley. The referee puts his hand in the air to indicate the last tackle. Mossop to Parata, who kicks it into the corner. A tester for Will Sharp, but a knock on indicated against the Barrow player, I think, by the referee. So it'll be a turnover, will it? Wait for the scrum. Well, I thought it was the last tackle and it should have been a turnover. Halifax to take the ball out of their red zone. They haven't had to do for a while. Then Barber with the first drive. Chester Butler with the second. Wins a penalty for Halifax. There was a lot of messing about the play of the ball. No penalty count so far. 6 in the Raiders' favour and 5 for Halifax, who will now restart 3 metres inside the Raiders' half of the field. Chester Butler driving strongly into the Raiders' defence. Brandon Moore waits acting out, and Glenn Riley was that far offside then. Well, you can't believe the referee's pinged him for that. Even Stevie Wonder would have seen that one. that far offside. So another penalty for Halifax. And then Barber inside to Morrell, and Riley's out of the line again, but not involved in the tackle. Brandon Moore, quick hands from Morrell, and Barber on the charge, close to the line. Has he got it down? Not so, says the referee. Interesting where he's, well, he's stood back a metre away from the line. Halifax looking for a bit more depth. Ben Johnson to Will Sharp. Will Sharp runs up to the defence and looked like he got a high one. Slow played the ball. Dan Fleming away from one. Dan Fleming still going forward, taking three with him. Another penalty. And again, Halifax allowed to put pressure on this Raiders line. Will they come away with more points, as they did, going back-to-back pressure in the first half. Nathan Mossam being spoken to. I think the referee losing his patience a little bit with this Barrow side. Tyra gets the ball to Johnson. Johnson to Fleming, who charges it up to that Raiders defensive line again, 10 metres out. Brandon Moore to Will Mayer, and Mayer hustled and pushed and dragged back towards the 20-metre line. Almost losing the ball there. Morrell gets the ball away. Halifax try to keep it alive. Loose possession in trying to do so. Referee's indicated a Barrow knock on again. And a Halifax possession. Well, they've had an absolute lion's share of possession in this game of Halifax. There's a big gap at the back of the scrum between the two Barrow defenders on the try line. I'm sure they'll be able to fill that gap by the time the ball comes out of the scrum. Referee making sure that the Barrow defenders are onside. Johnson drops the ball, goes back, we didn't touch it, dropped in front of him. And Johnson a little bit frustrated for the treatment he's being given there as Chester Butler is tackled without making too many metres. Will Mayer to Johnson. Johnson goes for the gap. And another Barrow man's left flat out on the floor. Looks like Dan Morrow, who's in a little bit of strife there. I thought Dan Fleming was going to pick him up then. The way he went over to him and stood over the top of him. Back to a sitting position is Dan Morrow. Well, it was Ben Johnson that he tackled, obviously from his condition very unsuccessfully. It looks like Dan Morrow will be leaving the field. He doesn't look too well either. Well, another rugby crab walk from the field for a Raiders player. He's trying to run. I'm not sure he'll get far. The medic not letting go of him. And Dan Morrow comes off second best as Halifax told you there to assault to that line, and Thomas Walker pulls back on. Short side play, Tyra looking for a second. Brought down 5 metres away, looking for the quick play of the ball. And again, Messing about the play, the ball from Alex Asino gives Halifax another penalty. And Sean Jones will go looking for a second. Can he get the ball down? No, says the referee. He'll go back to the 10-metre line. To continue the tackle count. Johnson sets a pass from Tyra, gives it to Will Mayer. And Mayer attracting Cicino and Mossop and Walker to him as Halifax look across the field. Morell to Sharp. Sharp gets the ball away, and Ed Barber unable to find the gap through that Raiders defence, which is sticking to its task with 17 minutes to go. Brandon Douglas, the next man to try and break that Barrow defensive line, 8 metres away. Morell to Johnson, and Johnson a little chip through, and that's well taken, brought back from the in-goal by Brett Carter. Went down bravely, managed to rescue the situation. Could have been problems. Thomas Loxham takes it over the 20. Well, Halifax will be quite aware of the comeback the Barrow Raiders made against the Sheffield Eagles last week, and we'll be looking not to fall into that same trap as Glenn Riley drives it forward, and Riley loses possession, and it's a knock on. Well, another brief spell of possession for the Barrow Raiders. The feeling that there may be one or two whose frustration may get the better of them in the last 16 minutes of this game. Halifax continue to dominate. Ben Kay is going to come back on, and so is Elliot Morris. Not until the scrum has taken place. And Barber taking it up, and it's Scott Morell that's coming off, and Brandon Moore. So a lot now resting on the shoulders of Ben Johnson, and here comes Johnson to Will Sharp, and Sharp duck inside the two defenders, gets brought down on the 20-metre line. Ben Kay gives it to Will Mayer, and Mayer drops the ball, and it's a Halifax error. First one for a while that's given the Raiders possession back, and Mayer went charging in then, and Halifax have Brandon Douglas seemed to go down heavily then, but he's back on his feet now and back into the defensive line. And his teammates continue to try and stifle this Raiders attack. The next tackle made on the 40. 24 points to 4, less than 15 minutes to go. Richard Marshall taking a risk of getting Scott Morell off. Another game, of course, on Monday, weather permitting. Oh, Barber's gone for the intercept. Might not have the pace. Conor McGrath will, all the way to the corner and then inside to narrow the angle for Tyra. Well, that surely puts the game to bed for Halifax. Ed Barber reacting quickly for the intercept, getting a hand to it and managed to get the ball before it went to ground. Well, didn't have the pace to go himself with the defenders coming back, but Conor McGrath on the outside, no way they were going to catch him. Looked as though it was going to be a lot wider out than where he finished up. About 10 metres out from the right hand upright.
Steve Tyrrell looking to add to the 16 points he's already posted for Halifax this evening with a try, 4 conversions and 2 penalties. The lead is extended to Halifax 28, Barrow Raiders 4, and that is now 30. With Steve Tyrrell's 7th success of the evening, and 30 points to 4. Now it should be in the bag for Halifax, with the clock ticking down at just under 13 minutes to go.
Steve Tyrrell.
From Carter, collected by Sharp inside to Fleming. Fleming takes it out 15 metres and seems intent on getting a few more till he's thrown to the ground. Brandon Douglas takes it up and is tackled heavily. Doesn't seem to be any ill effects this time. Fleming running the ball up again. Not as effective as his first run in this set of 6, but Halifax still going forward. Elliot Morris carrying the ball forward as well, almost up to the 40, and then deciding to offload to Ben Kay, but Ben Kay looked as though he'd set himself for the tackle being complete and wait for the play. The ball knocked on and gave Barrow the possession as they tried to look for perhaps a late consolation try. 11.5 minutes to go. Thomas Walker caught 15 metres out. Well, Halifax defence has been good so far. Can it remain good for this set of 6? Well, it seems so, because the ball has gone to ground and there's a knock on from Barrow. They're desperate to keep the ball alive and get anything they can. The Barrow Raiders have come up with another error. Halifax will take the scrum 10 metres out from their own line, but more importantly it's the possession that matters. The completion rate for Halifax has obviously improved significantly since those opening minutes when both teams exchanged a series of knock-ons early on. Conor McGrath turning up centre field, tackled by Mossop and Holmes. Not much to do to get through Ryan Duffy there as Ben Kay gets up to the 40. Will Sharp to Johnson. Johnson pops it up for Fleming. Fleming with a big handoff on the first defender, attracts 3. Still managing to stay on his feet is Dan Fleming. Last tackle, gets the ball back. This time there's a high testing kick, well taken by Shane Toll. Halifax still pummeling Barrow in defence. Johnson and Jones there, Johnson again, Jones, Ben Kay and Dan Fleming all in on that last tackle. Mossop gives it to Duffy, and Duffy smothered by the Halifax defence and brought to ground 2 metres from halfway.
Substitution for Barrow and
Matty Weil gets to the 40 metre line, just back on to replace Glenn Riley, who's had a very frustrated evening. And Saltonstall retrieves the kick and bounces away from the first defender, who is Matty Weil, who gets in as the third man. The tackle completed 18 metres out from the Halifax line. Conor McGrath who's tackled us over the 20. Chester Butler takes the ball forward. McGrath gets another go. Jones gets a Cumberland throw from a Cumbrian player. The referee said get up and play the ball, and now the Raiders are caught for offside. Ed Barber will kick for touch. Good kick from Barber, putting the ball into touch. 25 metres out from the Raiders line. Halifax looking for more points. 30 points to 4 the lead. Sean Jones driving it into the Raiders defence and still standing, still driving and going forward, and then throwing the player off. And Parata is penalised. I think we'll feel a bit badly done to there, because Sean Jones was just plundering his way forward. They just couldn't put him down. Brandon Douglas takes it to within 5 metres. Then Kay moves into acting half. Gets it away to Fleming. Fleming out to Barber. Barber seems to have taken over the role of standoff. There's only full-back has come out. I think that Ed Barber hasn't played. He's been everywhere else. Ben Kay going from acting half, almost splitting the Raiders' defence, just all down 2 metres away. And Brandon Douglas. Well, if it had been Will Mayer then, it probably would have been a try, but Brandon Douglas just not tall enough to get it over. And Toll collects it from the kick through. But Halifax finishing the set in a good position in the Raiders' red zone. And the indications on the field from the post out to the 30-metre line in front of the Raiders post tell you where most of the action has been in the second half. And most of that has turned to mud, and Fieldhouse loses the ball. Will Sharp goes without it, then pops it up for Tyra. Tyra knows it's an advantage play. Conor McGrath was slowed down with the Barrow defender in front of him. Going back to the condition of the pitch, when we look at the Barrow Raiders half of the field in the second half virtually turned to mud, while the Halifax half of the field by comparison is still pretty much in the condition it was in the first half, with plenty of green on it. Shows you how much domination and territory Halifax have had in the second half of this game. Ed Barber going from the back of the scrum. Kay put the ball up the jumper. 5.5 minutes to go. Halifax have got the 2 points they wanted and needed. Weather permitting, we'll go to Dewsbury. The 4th game in 14 days. Well, there's always fun and games at Dewsbury. Controversy has been present in a lot of games at Tetley Stadium. I'm sure there could be more on Monday. And that depends on the beast from the east returning again to disrupt the fixture calendar. Tyra just unable to pick it up. The referee has decided Halifax were offside anyway. And the Raiders coming out of their own red zone again. Kick finds the 30-metre mark from Parata. Bossop to Parata to Alex Cecchino, Italian international teammate, brought down
just close to the 40, and that's a massive hit on Matthew Weil. So see running the ball up again to halfway. Barata takes the ball from Mossop. Well, trying to run the Halifax defence ragged. He was only succeeded in running himself ragged. Ryan Duffy sets the 5th and last tackle of this set. Barata puts the ball out on the full. Easy turnover for Halifax. They'll only have just over 3 minutes. Signals another win. After 2 disappointments, it's just the pick up that Halifax needed, and the fact that they've only conceded 1 try, testimony to fantastic defensive effort. Brandon Douglas, it just ankle tapped by Ryan Duffy, otherwise he would have made a lot more metres then. Barber turns it inside. Will Sharp has work to do against the Raiders defence, who were coming back in number to make the tackle just outside the 20. Johnson kicks through, chases up his own kick, putting pressure on Toll. Toll will have to run the ball out. Well, they reckon Dan Toll is probably a winger of Super League quality. And the ball comes off Mossop. Scott Morrell might not be on the field. He's been named as the man of the match this evening. Sean Jones, Halifax hit man.
1,298. Thank you very much for your support this evening.
1,300 people on a cold Good Friday evening as Tyra tries to find a way through Ben Kay. Halifax gets inside to Johnson. Halifax looking for one last hurrah before the hooter, which is a minute and a quarter away. Ben Kay to Ed Barber. Good pass from Barber to Sharp, and McGrath almost getting around the outside there, but Barrow defence reacting well on the flanks. Messing about the tackle there on Morris. Halifax looking for one more try. They've already got the 2 points, and no doubt about it. And Dan Fleming has had the try ruled out, got up to celebrate. Thought he got to the ball first, but the referee said the Raiders had got to the ball first, so there'll be another drop out of the post, but I don't think there'll be enough time left in the 20 seconds for Halifax to post another 4 points. Dan Fleming very unlucky as he lost himself at the ball layer. Well, there must have been a split second between the Barrow Raiders touching it and Dan Fleming. Saltonstall kicks over the top, looking for the bounce. Well, he hasn't got it, but it doesn't matter. Raiders end up with the ball. They've not had a lot of possession, and they've not had a lot of opportunities. They've only scored 1 try with Gene Ormsby in the first half. But Halifax responding to 2 difficult defeats with the perfect result. And when you consider the people that are missing out of the first team, and Richard Marshall has had to use his own players with Danbury back at Salford and none of the Castleford players available, it's been a good performance by Halifax against a workman-like Barrow side who came in on the back of 2 wins, but couldn't extend that sequence this evening 16 points to 4 lead, increased to 18 points to 4 with Tyra's second penalty, and then tries from Sean Jones and Conor McGrath, and 2 more conversions from Sean Tyra cemented Halifax's total dominance in this match over the Barrow Raiders this evening, where they run out comfortable winners with a final score: Halifax 30, Barrow Raiders 4.